Hello everyone, welcome back to 10 power 100 Karnataka. This is Tejas. I hope all of you have been waiting for the next videos for English. So the new academic year has begun and already ivaga quarterly exams bartade. So I am having I think it is a privilege for me to stand here in one of my friends' YouTube channel. And what is interesting is that today is Friendship Day. So this is also a nice way to get me started in the channel once again. So in this video, I think we will be covering a little bit about what is important for the first quarterly exam. And I will just quickly give you an overview like how I have given previously, which will help all of you also prepare well for your examination. So without wasting too much of time, let us quickly begin this video. So I will just quickly first share with you the syllabus itself, right? So ಈ ಟೈಮ್ 5 ಲೆಸನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಶುವಲ್, ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ನಾರ್ತ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ they give only the first 4 lessons, but this is the first time I'm seeing even Sunny Morning also actually appear in the syllabus list, which means that the number of marks for each lesson will naturally come down, right? And that also means that you have to be thorough with all the 5 lessons as well. So Romeo Juliet, as you know, is a poem which is not very difficult. Then you have On Children, which is also a poem. This is also not very difficult. Lessons in the most probably 2 marks ಮತ್ತು 3 mark questions ಬರ್ಬೋದು, especially given that there is a lot of details that you should be remembering. Okay, so ಇವೆರಡು poems na I'm just going to very briefly explain to you. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ 3 main lessons that are there, which is Two Deer, Everything I Need to Know I Learnt About in the Forest, and then Sunny Morning. Now Two Deer and Sunny Morning is not very complicated. It is pretty straightforward. It is more or less like a story. So nimaga story gottidre then it is easy, especially Sunny Morning. Everything I Need to Know I Learnt in the Forest. Now for those people who can actually remember details, okay, so antavrige this lesson is actually very simple, because there's a lot of factual details. Andre there's a lot of facts. Okay, so our facts na ನೀವು ನೆನಪು ಕಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ then you can prioritize this lesson. If not, then I have a few tips for you in terms of how you can prepare for this lesson also. So this is your overview of the 5 lessons that you need to keep in mind. Again, I'm reminding you, the number of lessons ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ the number of marks for each of the lessons could vary. Okay, it can reduce significantly. So 5 lessons ಮೇಲೆ you should have a good hold. Okay, now even grammar topics ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ increase ಆಗಿರೋ ತರ ಇದೆ. Articles, preposition, subject, verb, agreement, tenses, question forms, expression, error identification, ಮತ್ತೆ jumbled sentences. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ clearly 1 mark questions. Okay, most probably ನಿಮಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ questions ಎಲ್ಲ topics ಇಂದನು 1 mark ಬರ್ಬೋದು. Along with that, pronouns, usually pronouns na match the following ತರ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So this could be for more than 2 marks or 3 marks. Usually 2 marks match the following is very difficult. Pronouns, very simple. It's not very complicated. I think you can definitely practice a few questions from the workbook. I think that should be a good resource for you. Then passive voice, this is immediately after MCQs. They will give you a sentence, and in that sentence you will be basically fill in the blanks. Okay, atara questions barbodu. Comprehension passage will be prose only time. So in the syllabus it is written as prose comprehension passage, which means one small paragraph ತರ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ, and based on that there will be a few questions which you should answer. Okay, so again pretty straightforward. For grammar you have 20 marks. Roughly ಎಲ್ಲ topics nallu you will get a minimum of 1 mark, and most probably comprehension passage, active passive, and pronouns idrinda more than 1 mark questions barbodu. Comprehension passage naturally has to be for more than 1 mark. You might have a minimum of 4 questions. Pronouns also you could have around 3 marks, and then active passive usually board exams only it is for 3 marks. We'll see this time how much it is, right? So this is your grammar, not too difficult. It is not something that you should be worried so much about. Ella categories in the if you are able to solve a couple of questions, I think that should be easy for you to prepare. Okay, so this video I'm not going to specifically focus on grammar. My main focus will be on the other 20 marks for your literature. Having said all of this, right, board exams nalli nimage 80 marks irutte. The remaining 20 marks is actually your internals. So quarterly exam plays a very important role for your internals. Okay, and irrespective of the streams that you have taken, whether it is science, commerce, or arts, ಮೂರು stream allunu the same concept applies. That means the 20 marks is going to be from these quarterlies, the best of 3 itself, right? Either this quarterly, midterm exam, or second quarterly in that. Given that the portions are very simple, my personal request is that stress yourselves on getting maybe 34, 36 in the first quarterly, because it's not very difficult also, right? So grammar, very simple. It's very easy to score 20 out of 20 in the grammar parts also. So if you have any particular requests in terms of couple of things which is difficult for you, then I would request you to put that in the comment section, and we can probably share some resources to you on Telegram and the WhatsApp channel, so that you will be able to refer to it. Okay, nothing complicated, children. It's actually very simple if you look at it. Now, first I will quickly cover the poetry section. Okay, now there are 2 poems anta helidnalva. One is Romeo Juliet and the other one is On Children. ಈಗ Romeo Juliet nalli, as I said previously, for both the poems, please expect 2 marks and 3 mark questions. This is assuming that you will get 1 MCQ from these 2 poems. Okay, so keeping that in mind, minimum you will get 1 2 marker or 1 3 marker for sure. So hingiruvaga, what are these possible 2 markers and 3 markers anta question bantandre, then I have put down a few things for you to quickly go through, right? So Romeo Juliet, in that there are a lot of comparisons that they both make. So Romeo in his soliloquy compares Juliet to several things, right? It could be he compares her to a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear, or she's so beautiful that she teaches the torches to burn bright. At the same time, there are other comparisons where he says that she's so beautiful that she's like a dove trooping among the crows. Trooping here means dancing among different crows, right? So these are the type of comparisons that you should be remembering. This can be for 1 mark also, or 2 marks. So the different comparisons that he made. Okay. Similarly, Juliet also makes some comparisons of Romeo. She says that he is the black-browed knight. He is the new snow on Raven's back. Right? Ithara comparisons, gentle sun. All of these comparisons are also made by Juliet. So please remember the comparisons that are made. If you can go through the summary of these 2 poems, I think that should be more than enough for you. Okay. So now, where do you find all these summaries? After this video, I would request you to refer to some of the notes that are there, because ee video nalli content enideyo adannu neevu notes ge compare madidre, then it is easy for you to prepare. Okay. So that is in terms of Romeo and Juliet. Hardly you should take around 15 minutes to prepare for this, children. It is not at all a difficult poem at all. Next is your On Children. Okay, so On Children is a lot about the expectations of parents in terms of what the parents are supposed to expect from their children, right? So e poem nalli there are 2 sections. Nimage easy agagoskara that when I teach this poem, I explain it into 2 sections. The first section is the expectation of parents, which is the first part of the poem. Okay, this part talks about the fact that, you know, the poet is saying that your children are not your children. That means they do not, even though they come from you, they do not belong to you, because their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. Alva? So these are the type of words that the poet has used, Khalil Gibran has used in the poem. So these textual words now you should be able to remember. That is the expectation that of the parents, right? So that is one part of a question that you can get. The second part of the poem talks about the imagery. Okay, here the imagery comprises of the bow, arrow, and the archer. This is a very commonly asked question. Okay, who is the bow, who is the arrow, and who is the archer? The arrow, when you hold a bow and arrow, the arrow which is flying swift and far is actually the children. Okay, the bow becomes the parents, and the archer is the prophet or the god, right? So this analogy you should be able to remember, God. So this is what they can ask you: who refers to the bow, the arrow, and the parent, and what is the role of the parent? Another you should be able to remember. So the poet says that the role of the bow or the parent is to ensure that the arrow flies swift and far upon the path of infinite. Okay, so that is something that I request all of you to refer to. So this is also a very simple poem. In all possibility, you might get a 3 mark question. If you're lucky, you might even get a 4 mark question from this. Usually 4 mark keldaga they will ask you to combine both the things, meaning you have to write the expectation of the parents as well as the imagery that is there in the poem. Okay, so this is the poetry section. Quickly pause this video to synthesize whatever we have done. We have 2 different sections. We have the Romeo and Juliet poem, which emphasizes on the comparisons that are made, and On Children there are different figures of speech that he uses. Most probably it is imagery, and then second part is, the first part of it is the expectations of the poem. All right. Okay, so Iga, there are 3 lessons, Alva. So each of the 3 lessons, I'm just going to give you a brief summary of the 3 lessons, okay? And these lessons are very important for us because from these lessons, there is a possibility you'll get your 3 markers and your 4 markers as well. So I would urge all of you to stay focused in this part of the video. Now, to dearly, there are 6 key elements that can be there, okay? These 6 key elements, 3 marks ko kelbodu ಅಥವಾ 4 marks ko kelbodu. Now, I will just quickly, I won't explain all of these sections to you, but what I will tell you is how can you prepare for these things, right? So the first part is obviously description of Monaco. This is a very, very simple question. They can ask you for 3 marks also. They can ask you for 4 marks also. Ideally, key words are very important. Tiny kingdom, shores of Italy and Mediterranean Sea. Then you have other elements like the population, the army. It consisted of a kinglet, which had ministers, barristers, courtiers, etc. Right? And you also should be able to write the sources of revenue. Okay, revenue sources. This is important. They can ask you for 2 marks also. There were 4 different sources from taxes. The taxes were collected from tobacco, wine, spirit, and they also had something called as a poll tax. Okay. Apart from this, there was a special source of revenue. A special source of revenue was from the gaming houses. Okay, so these are the key points that you should remember for the description of Monaco. Okay, and you can also include the elements that Monaco had a monopoly. Monopoly in what? In gaming houses, because it was banned across Europe. Okay, so these are some of the descriptions, the key details that you can write for Monaco. You 4 marks write a little bit about the gaming houses also. Another 3 marks the main factual details, location, and the population, the army, what did it consist of, the different sources of revenue. I think you will get your 3 mark question. Okay, 3 marks. Next is your gambling houses or gaming houses. Again, you can do question. Most of the children they'll write about the description of Monaco. This question is not about the description of Monaco. This is about the gaming houses. So ideally, don't write too much about the Monaco, about the kingdom of Monaco. You need to write substantially about the gaming houses itself. Okay, so gaming houses they were going and they were staking a little bit of money, and some people would win and people, or sometimes they would lose, but regardless of it, it was considered to cause harm. That is why the German sovereigns banned it, right? This part, German sovereigns, why was it banned? All of those things has to be written. At the same time, you also have to say that only one kingdom had the gaming houses, which was the monopoly, and that monopoly lied with Monaco. Okay, you will get your marks. And of course, remember the game. What was the game that was being played in the gaming houses? It was roulette. Okay, spelling of roulette is important. So that is the key description that you need to be writing about the gambling houses, right? The next part is the event that really happened, right? So Monaco was a peaceable country. Suddenly there was a murder that was committed in the country. A murder commit admele, they came together, they decided to give this criminal a death penalty. So adra bagge they might ask you to write a short note in terms of what really happened or why was he given a death penalty anta. So e question ge, please remember there are 2 sections. Okay, you will start off by talking about it was a peaceable country. For the first time a murder was committed, and because this was for the first time, they didn't know what to do, so they all came together and they decided that there will be a death penalty anta. Adadmele there are 2 main sections. Okay, there was a hitch. This word has to be written. There was a problem. The problem was predominantly that the kingdom of Monaco did not have an executioner, and it did not have the machine for execution. Okay, hence what did they do? First, they went and approached the French government. I think last year they'd asked for 1 mark question. What is the type of the government of French government? It was a republican. Okay, so they reached out to the republican French government, and what did the French government respond? They responded that it would cost 16,000 francs. Remember the money. This is where a lot of children will make errors. 16,000 francs. Okay, illi spelling also when children make mistake. They write France. It's not France. It is francs. Okay, so 16,000 francs anta they will say. Then they will all meet together and they will decide that that is too much for the wretch. Okay, this word is also used in your textbook. The prince feels that this is too much for the wretch. The criminal is not worth 16,000 anta. They move to the next solution. The second solution after the French government was to reach out to the brother monarch, who was nothing but the king of Italy. Okay, so that is the second solution that they will think about. What did the king of Italy does not respond. A lot of children will make mistake. Brother monarch doesn't respond. The Italian government responds, and the Italian government says that it will cost them 12,000 francs along with traveling expenses. Okay, which again they feel that it is too much for the rascal. The second partly they use the word rascal. First partly it is wretch. Second partly it is rascal. And again they decide that it is not really worth it. Then they will reach out for the third solution, and the third solution is that they will ask the soldiers to execute the criminal. However, the soldiers will be reluctant, meaning they will not want to do it. Why? There are a couple of reasons, right? They will say that they were not trained, and they say that they will cut or they will kill a person only in battle, and that is why they also refuse to kill the or execute the prisoner. So, more reasons in the death penalty will change to the life imprisonment, which is the next section. Okay, so question can be of a possible 4-mark question. 4-mark bandaga, remember you start by telling about the fact that it was a peaceable country, French government, Italian government, the soldiers, and they decide to change. E 4 sections na correct sequential baribeku with the keywords. Okay, otherwise you may not fully get marks. Question, lesson only the problem is this only, children. Everybody tries to write it on their own. Okay, own ಬರೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೂ keywords include ಮಾಡಿ ಬರೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೂ there's a big difference. Leo Tolstoy ಬರ್ದಿರೋ ತರನೇ you have to write, right? In literature, that is what is expected. Next is your life imprisonment. This is very simple. They'll put him in jail. Then the expenses will increase to 600 francs. They will again meet together. They will say that this is not really worth it. So they'll remove the prisoner, the guard, sorry. When they remove the guard, the prisoner himself will start going to the palace. He will fetch his own food, etc. Right? Which means the expenses were still 600 francs itself. So they will again decide to change life imprisonment to something else. Okay, so that's the next part of the lesson. The last two questions are pretty straightforward. In textbook answers. The reluctance for the prisoner to leave the prison. Why was he hesitating to leave the prison? There are several reasons. A couple of reasons I'll just tell you now is that he felt that his name was, his reputation was destroyed, that he had gone out of way of work. Ishtu dina he was in the prison alva, so avnige work heng madbeku anta gottirlilla. So that's why he'll show some resistance. Like this, there are several other points that are mentioned. Around 4 or 5 points are there, so you just have to quote those points as it is, right? And the last decision that they will take is that they'll release the prisoner by providing him a pension, an annual pension, and they will give him 1/3 of his as annuity, and then they will release him from the prison. Now, after the prison, what does he do? There are some points. He settles across the frontier. A border atrogbutti, he will settle. Frontier means border. Okay, then he will start doing something called as market gardening na start ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. Then he will live a peaceful life. Sometimes he will still go to the gaming houses. He will gamble. Sometimes he will win. Sometimes he will lose. Right. So this is the last part of the lesson which they can ask you. So marks nodidre, this can be for 3 marks. This can be for 3 marks. This can also be for 3 marks. This can be for 4 usually. This can be for 3. This can be for 3 or 4. Okay. So from my understanding, I'm sure you will get 1 4-mark question from this lesson and possibly 1 3-mark question also. So remember it like a story, but 2DRLE, the main thing is tense baritarvaga, let it be in past tense, and secondly keywords na correct use madbekagutte. Okay, all right. The next 2 lessons I'm not going to explain much in detail, but I'm going to just give you a gist of it. Now, sunny morning bandaga, there are several key things that you should remember. Okay, and personally, this is my to-do lesson. If you watch my last year's videos also, I will be telling all the students this. Sunny morning is easy. Sunny morning is also something which is easy to score. I'm talking even from your board exam standpoint. So, a little bit, if you put in some effort, no, then 100% for sure in your board exams, you might get a good amount of marks from this lesson. So, what are the key things that I want you to keep in mind is the first thing is ill-natured prelude, or why did Donald call him an ill-natured man? This is the first part of the story. Okay. Lesson my request is please read the textbook once. Okay. I can ask you a quick question now. What was the age of Petra? Now, this is a question that they can ask also, right? And this is not somewhere which is given in your question banks and all. It is there in the story. first part of the story. First is entry scene. Donna says that you're 20 years old, right? So like this, they can ask you questions from any corner of the book. So I would suggest one time at least lesson na odi. Okay. Next, there are humorous instances. There are several. When both of them sit together and they start fighting with each other, they start pulling each other's leg, right? So how do they pull each other's leg? A few examples could be handkerchief na use ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಅವನು to clean his shoes. So the handkerchief incident. Then he removes his glasses to read a book, and then she says that your glasses look like a telescope, right? So that is another humorous instances. Hunting ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರುವಾಗ there's a little bit of humor that is there. So those instances na you should be able to write for this section. The description of beauty of Donna Laura, this is something that I have started children, or I've been telling children to focus on, because last year only they had asked this question in one of the preparatory exams, right? So for this page number 43 only, you will be able to find a description. The first line itself, the first dialogue is a description of Donna Laura. Jet hair, fair as a lily, itara points alla ide. So those points I want you to recollect. Okay. So ee mooru questions can be 3-mark questions for all of you. Okay, children. Next, you have the love story of the gallant horseman and the silver maiden. This is the first part of the story before they start lying. Okay, there is a first part. How did they both fall in love with each other? Part again, you need to be able to write this in a very simple manner. Okay, so if I were to summarize for you in a minute or two, the story starts like this: that in Marisela, there was a villa, and in that villa there was a beautiful girl. Her name was the Silver Maiden. Okay, or another name for the actual name was Laura Lorente. She was also known as Silver Maiden because she was so beautiful. So how the love story between both of them used to happen: the gallant horseman, who was the cousin of Don Gonzalo, would walk past the road's path every morning when he was going to work, and every morning when he was going to work, he would toss a bouquet of flowers to the Silver Maiden, who used to stand near the balcony. She would catch the bouquet of flowers, and in the evening when he was returning back from work, she would toss it back to him. So this was happening on a regular basis, but unfortunately, I think it is evening or afternoon. Just check your book. Don Gonzalo's cousin, the gallant horseman, was caught by the merchant who was supposed to marry Donna Laura's friend, who was Laura Lorente, right? So catch admele avribru, they start fighting. That fighting will then lead to a duel, okay, which happens on the beach. And in that duel, the merchant was badly injured. Now, thinking something will happen, Don Gonzalo's cousin runs away to Don Gonzalo's house. Injury tanka, it is correct. That is a true story. Now, cousin manege hoda, cousin manenalli he started writing letters which were intercepted by her parents. This part is all fictitious, fake story. Okay, so a fake story of Don Gonzalo keldaga neevu Don Gonzalo's story matra baribeku. That he ran away to his cousin's house. From there he went, then he went from Seville to Madrid. In Madrid, he started writing letters to the Silver Maiden, but those letters were intercepted by her parents. So fearing that he has lost his beloved, he decides to join the army and goes to Africa. And in one of the trenches of Africa, he has a glorious death. And now what happens when he is about to die? He holds the flag of Spain and he whispers her name, and then he dies. Idella fake story, all lies. Okay, so when they ask you fictitious story, all of these things you should write. Remember those words, like from where to where he went. Okay, Seville to Madrid, that is important. In Madrid, he wrote letters that were intercepted by his parents. That is important. Then you should also write, fearing the fact that he has lost his beloved, he decided to join the army, went to Africa. Those words are important. Trenches, he died. He had a glorious death. That is important. How did he die? Holding the flag of Spain and whispering his beloved's name. Okay, so this is the fake story of Don Gonzalo. They can ask you the entire thing for 4 marks. Okay, similarly, Silver Maiden also tells her own version of the story. That version is very simple. She is waiting for his letters for months, days, years, doesn't receive anything. So one afternoon, she just goes to the beach, the same beach where they had the duel. Beach only one rock mele hogi she'll sit. Then the waves slowly will rise and it will sweep her to the ocean and she will die. The next morning when the fishermen come, they will see that the name was written on the sand. That is the name of her beloved was written on the sand, and it was still not washed away. So she exaggerates, but still that is the kind of story that she makes. Okay, so Yarudu Seri they can give you for 4 marks, or each version of the story they can ask you for 3 marks. Illi, please remember, don't sit and write the whole story when they have asked you only a Don Gonzalo story. Athwa Gallant Horseman story keldaga, please don't sit and write even Donna Laura's also. Similarly, Donna Laura's keldaga, don't sit and write the Gallant Horseman story. That's not worth it, right? If it is a 4-mark question, only then you include key details that is necessary. Illandre, you can just write only that particular section also. The real story is ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅವ್ರಿಬ್ರಿಗೂನು, one person gets married, that is she gets married, and Don Gonzalo runs away with someone, a ballet dancer, to Paris, right? The last question that they can ask you, the strange way of love, the providence of love anta. Why is love strange, right? So for this, it is a summary of the entire lesson, but I want you to stress upon the fact that even though they recognize that they both loved each other, they do not want to reveal their identities, and that is why love is strange, right? Because now they don't want them to know the wrinkled self that they are in right now. They don't want to know that. So that's why you should, that one key detail now you should include for providence of love. So this is Sunny Morning. I know for now we have discussed a lot, right? So the next section, this is a very important section in terms of what you should cover from the forest lesson, right? Ishtotige, whatever I have covered, I think that should give you full 20 marks. Now, forest lesson is something for you to be assured that you will get your 20 marks from this literature section, right? So, illi there are 5 main topics that I want you to keep in mind for 3 or 4 marks. All these 5 are very easy. Chipko movement, very simple. You need to know the Bachni Devi incident, what happened in Advani village. Navdanya farm and Navdanya movement bagge they can ask you marks. This is all direct questions, okay? Eco-apartheid is very simple. This part will is something that I want all of you to just read about. And the last part is about the Earth University, which says that the education provided to people over there is more anthropocentric. It's more ecocentric rather than being anthropocentric, right? And what are the different courses of Earth University? You should remember A to Z of organic farming and Gandhi and globalization, right? So names you should be able to remember. These are all some things that you can skim through, children. Tapovan bagge they can ask you 2-mark questions. Shantiniketan, Rabindranath Tagore, where was it set up? Kolkata. All of those things you should be able to remember. And Dead Earth and Mother Earth, that is Terra Madre, Terra Nullius. Francis Bacon, father of modern science. Carolyn Merchant was talking about the fact that people are extorting, like how they extort from their mother, alva. So these things is just for you to remember for 1 mark and 2 marks. And these things are important for you to remember for 3 or 4 marks, okay? So hence I have kept this lesson in the end. Neevu Romeo Juliet on Children, Sunny Morning ಮತ್ತೆ 2 Dear na thorough ಆಗಿ ಓದಿದ್ರೆ, this lesson will help you get your 2 marks and 1 marks, okay? If you are not thorough with that, then I have to focus on this, all right? So just to sum up everything, this is what I am predicting could be the pattern of the paper. I could be also wrong. This is based on the previous year's papers. MCQs, usually they have given 4 MCQs previously. This time there could be 5. It completely depends on the way they are setting it. 2-mark questions, they can ask you 3 questions with maybe 2 extra questions that could be given to you. 3-mark questions nalli 2 question baribekagiro situation could be there, and 1 4-mark question minimum can also be asked, right? So this is it's a prediction. It's not a fixed thing. Ide tara barutte anta I am not guaranteeing, but this is what my hunch is saying. Grammar, like I said, pronouns, reading comprehension, active passive voice will have more marks. The weightage of all these 3 components could be more than the other things, right? Like I said in the previous slide itself. So that is the blueprint. That could be the possible paper pattern that you might have. So on that note, I think we've come to the end of this video, right? So next steps. First thing is first, when you are writing an English paper, I always say this, and I will probably repeat this for all the videos that I do, is your neatness, your presentation, and the way you write it is absolutely very, very important. Question paper alli, there will be some instructions that will be given to you in the beginning. Go through those instructions. Like for example, MCQs, you can't scratch and rewrite again, okay? Those instructions and all will probably be given to you in the question paper, so go through the instructions. Second thing is, please leave a line after every question so that the answer paper looks neat and presentable. Underline the keywords because that is very important in English. It also shows that you have read the textbook well and you know the keywords of those lessons as well, right? And grammar questions, don't try to scratch too much and write, because it looks ugly, and it also shows that you're not probably confident with your answers, right? So those are some smaller tips that I would give so that you will really enhance the quality of your answers. But from other than that, that is pretty much it that I would want to share with all of you. Now, once this video is done, like I said, a notes irutte nimge on the Telegram group. Notes na ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ video explanation ಎರಡೂನು you keep it simultaneously and refer. Okay, so blind ಆಗಿ video ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ you will not get full marks. Similarly, if you read the notes blindly, you may not get full marks. It's a combination of both, right? So keep the video, keep the notes, and then try to prepare for your exam. I'm sure that will help you reach that goal of 34, 35, 36, which means for sure you will be getting good marks in your quarterly, and hence your internals will also be sorted, right? So apart from that, there is nothing else that I will want to share. Thank you so much for all of you for watching this video. If this will help anybody who is taking the second PUC exams, share it with them. There is more content that is coming your way from math, physics, whatnot, right? So stay tuned to this channel, and yes, continue watching the videos and continue learning. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.